Hi, I'm Stuart from HiFi PiG. I'm here with Michael Borresen with Audio Group Denmark. And what we're going to do is, they've got 3 rooms here.
We have 3 rooms, yeah. Yep.
And we're going to take you through each of those rooms. We've got the Axxess room, this room, and then a higher end room.
No, this is the high end room.
This is the high end room.
Yeah.
And we've got the new T5 speakers. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass you over to Michael because he knows everything there is to know about the system, the speakers, and all the rest of it. So over to you, Michael.
I think I will start here in the stack we have. It's a streamer and a DAC. We have an SD880. And the SD880 streams from Cubase, Tidal, Spotify, whatever streaming source, can also play from external hard drive. But the thing is that the DA conversion here is a DAC without a DAC, or at least it's not a typical ladder DAC design as most high-end are, because we find that ladder DACs are actually flawed by design, because every time you flip a switch, you also create a ripple, and that ripple is noise, and it's very, very difficult to get out of out of the music once you have embedded it into the music. So this one, instead of having that, we upscale everything into DSD-512.
Oh wow!
And DSD-512 has got the music information in it. It's modulated, so it's a matter of summarizing rather than doing a switching DAC process.
Okay.
And I actually think that Philips and Sony did us a huge favor when they digitized all the music when they made the CD and said everything is perfect, apart from the DA conversion that was pointing at you, not really playing music, but that has improved over time. And we should be very happy they did that, because that's where we have all our treasures. You know, all the old music would not be here if it weren't digitized.
Absolutely.
Because tapes will degrade.
Yeah.
So we should be happy. So our job is to get the most out of it, and that's what we try with the SD880. We also have a new cable loom here, which is a 3rd generation. This is the top tier we have with the latest DTC Supreme Gold Signature Type 3.
We heard the gold signature when we visited you in Denmark, and I think it's about £80,000 a metre for the.
I have no idea what the price is, but it's more than my pockets can afford for sure.
Absolutely, but the difference putting it in and out of the system was incredible. It was night and day.
The thing is that we know a lot about making cables. We have been at it for many years, and we know that the primary quality in power cords, speaker wires, etc., is that it should be very low in inductance, low in impedance. The general resistance should be very low, but the cable also have to be a very, very poor antenna. And this making cables very poor antennas make sure that it doesn't inject radio frequency noise into your system, which is what we find is detrimental to music performance. So that's why and what we aim at the most.
Okay. And what else have you got in the system?
We have an integrated Class A amplifier and a power amp, also Class A. This is 250 watts. This is 300 watts. And what that does is that in this integrated amp, we have an analog crossover. So we run the speakers here bi-wired, but also bi-amped. So we have an active analog crossover here.
Okay.
And the advantage of that in a room like this is that here we can typically have a room resonance, maybe 80 hertz. So most systems set up in rooms like this will actually have a boom. Very difficult to treat. But here what we can do is that we can put the high pass at 90 hertz and the low pass at 70 hertz, notching that 80 hertz out.
Okay.
So we have because we can control the slopes independent of each other, and also the levels independent of each other. That means we can make a perfect balance even in a small room like this.
And the speakers are new, they're the T5s?
These are the T5s, yeah.
And they're obviously you can tell that they're from the M series?
Yeah, there's it's a trickle down from the M.
Yeah.
And where we use a zirconium basket in the M, then we use a titanium basket here. So there's elements where we use a titanium skin that is treated here. We use this, the driver without skin. What we have is a special epoxy in here, so that we put something called shrim and whiskers inside, which is boron fibers and graphene into the matrix, and that stiffens the membrane and dampens the membrane at the same time.
It's a 2.5-way design.
It's a 2.5-way design with 4 8-inch drivers and 2 of these 5-inch or 4.5-inch for the mid-range.
We've had a listen to this earlier on, and I wrote down immediately that it's got the typical sort of Borresen type bass sound that I love, and in a room like this, that's really difficult to achieve, and they do sound excellent. And are they 200,000 euros a pair?
I have no idea.
They are
Don't ask me about money.
They are €200,000 a pair.
I'm the nerd that pull out when they want somebody to explain what this is.
Okay.
But the money thing, I stay completely out of. What's interesting here is also the carbon fiber we put on the side here, and the profiling. And if you know about steel plate roofing, they have these profiles because it stiffens everything. Yeah, and when we put carbon fiber into this reinforcement, we get an incredibly stiff cabinet for the bending. So the bending notes will move way, way up in the frequency band and way out where the drivers are actually working. And that's very beneficial because it calms everything down that the cabinet is not vibrating. Okay,
so that's this room. We're going to go and have a look at the Axxess room next.
We can do that.
Or we can go wherever you like.
Yeah, let's dance.
Okay. Cool. We're now in, again, with Audio Group Denmark, Michael Borresen. We're in the Axxess room, which Axxess is a fairly new brand within the Audio Group Denmark portfolio. And it's sort of the entry level. But I've just sat down and listened to the L3 speakers. They're £5,000 a pair, and they sound fantastic. But I'm going to hand over to Michael, and he's going to tell you all about the system that we've got here, the new speakers, what they're all about, and the rest of it.
I think that when we set out to create the Axxess, it was accessibility. This should be, our world should be able to get to for more people. And that's why we created the Axxess, the 41, 2 and 3. Start at around 5,000. We have speakers starting 2,500. So we are moving down in price. And when we do the really high-end stuff, we always see that this little idea was very good and that idea was very good. And it's not always that the most expensive ideas are the best. Could be something as the membrane on the driver. The membrane is not very expensive, but it's very, very good. So if we took that and paired that with a more conventional type of driver, then maybe we get something really good. And this is what the L is.
So is this the same membrane that's in the X series?
It's the same membrane that's in the X, but a lesser expensive basket, a lesser expensive magnet system, a lesser expensive voice coil, only wound on the outside rather than inside and outside. So we do take some compromises, but they are small in terms of sonic performance.
But it's a Borresen speaker through and through. Immediately sit down and listen to it, and you can hear.
It has that elegant transparency throughout, and it never gets in your face. But it has the power, it has the dynamic, it has the expression. And here we have a very, very simple system because almost all of this is Axxess. This is Axxess cables. This is Axxess power distribution. This is Axxess amplifier, Axxess speakers. So this system as a total can be done around 12,000 euros.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really good value.
It is. And I think that if we want this business to grow, not only us, but the whole business to grow, we should allow young people to get in.
Absolutely.
And they should be able to experience. And we have to be aware that young people are walking around with headphones, and they have the slam, the impact, the bass, the low coloration. They have that. And when they get in front of a set of speakers where you have a lot of room resonance and boom, they get disappointed. How can we ever get them into our world of stereo?
And the cables, the Axxess cables, they were launched at
Exponent.
They're fairly recent, aren't they?
Everything here is basically new. The speakers are new, the power distribution, the cables, the amplifier is 1 year old. So it's a fairly new venture for us to go into this market.
Okay, and selling well?
Yeah, I think I think that when people realize that this is available, it will sell well.
Absolutely.
But we are launching speakers here, so we really don't know if they sell well, but we have an idea. Yes. And we can see, of course, in the pre-orders that it doesn't look too bad.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, the next room that we're going to go into is?
We go into the C room, the mid-tier of our We have a new amplifier in there. We have new speakers.
And the C range was launched at Axxess too.
The C1 we launched at Axxess,
Yeah.
and here we have the C3, which is
Okay.
a bigger sister. Same sonic, tonality, balance, qualities of the C1, but scaled up.
Okay.
And then we have a new generation of our amplifiers.
Okay.
So
Shall we
this-
have a listen to that then?
Absolutely.
Right, we're in the final room of Audio Group Denmark, and this represents the middle tier.
Yeah, it represents where we started, really, where we were in the beginning. This new amp that we have here is sort of like a collaboration between Fleming and I in terms of the exterior design.
And Fleming used to be with
Griffin.
another Danish brand, Griffin,
Yeah.
but is now with Audio Group Denmark. And if you don't know Fleming, what an inspirational character he is. He's an artist, he's a genius with electronics, and I think he's a really great addition.
Yeah, it's very good to have somebody to lean on, you know, when you do design, and it's only you, and maybe Lars. It's very nice to have Fleming also.
Absolutely.
Because he's not only, he also brings a lot to the table, and he wants design to be more male,
Okay.
where I've had tendency to make jewelry boxes.
Okay.
He wants to have this more imposing things where you can see things. So this is pretty much a result of, this is a structurally as good a cabinet as the one we have on the 880 series,
Okay.
but it's smaller too. And the amplifier here is also a tradition. When Aavik started, the first amp we did was a U300. And this U that we put in meant unity. So it's a united situation of different modules. So there was a phono stage and a DAC and a preamp and an amplifier.
Okay.
But with the streaming developing so much, we decided to take the phono stage out. So this is a streaming. So we have a streamer in here, we have a DAC in here, we have a preamp and an amplifier. So it's a continuation of that U designation.
Everything in one box.
Everything in one box
solution.
One box solution for a high-end system. And I think the performance, I've never heard a 300 watt amplifier from Class D having this snare drum impact of these. This is a very crisp, very transparent amplifier.
We've just listened to a version of St James Infirmary, and there's a hit, a snare hit, and it's visceral on this system. It's really, really cool to listen to.
So this is the heart of the system, together with a new generation of the D cabling. So this is D cable generation 3, and they are powering the new C3 speaker.
And they're being launched at Munich.
They are launched at Munich here.
You launched the C1 at Axxess.
Axxess, yeah, that was sort of like a sneak peek into this
Okay.
range. This will contain 3 speakers, C1, C2, and C3.
Okay.
So this is the biggest one we have in that range. So this is a cabinet with a reinforcement of carbon fiber on the side. Now this carbon fiber is 1 mm thick, so it really adds rigidity and stiffness to the cabinet as well. We have a neodymium magnet system, and the magnet system has also rings of copper inside the pole piece and the pole ring, and that lowers induction a lot. So we start with a free air induction of maybe 0.5 millihenry, but we boil that down to 0.08 millihenry.
Okay.
And it's a lot, when you reduce induction, you increase the speed of the driver. But what is maybe the most important is that it doesn't spike up in impedance where you have resonances. And that means that when you have a room resonance of a speaker in a room, normally you see a spike in impedance. But a spike in impedance means that it demands less current from the amplifier. That means the amplifier cannot control it over the resonances. But when you have a significantly lower, like this is like a 6 ohm, and where the peak is, it goes up to 12. That means you still have half the current. And most other speakers maybe go to 80 ohms instead of that. They don't have any current there to control the motion. And so they suffer room boom, and these do not.
No, they're very tight on the bass. I think these got the same kind of drivers, the same sandwich, and the same.
Yeah,
filaments
the
inside?
same type of membranes. This is a similar membrane to the X, but the next generation where we do use a different type of epoxy. This epoxy has whiskers inside, and whiskers is small boron and graphene particles, and that means that the carbon fiber is normally just sort of like lying together and then they're locked, but they're not really interlinked or cross-linked. This here cross-links them, and that really stiffens up the carbon.
Okay.
So this is the way high-end tennis rackets or golf shafts or something like that is made.
Okay.
So we take that technology and put into the driver manufacturing.
Okay. And what is next for the C2? Is that out yet? Or?
No, the C2 is not out yet. The C2 is like this tall,
Okay.
but very similar in visual appearance. C1 you can see outside.
And when can we expect C2 to be?
But they will launch at the same time. We have the C2s in the factory,
Okay.
but we had a few changes and some tweaks to the crossover, so we were not. It's always a rush to go to shows,
Okay.
so we didn't have time to finish that in a satisfactory manner. So we still work a little with that,
Okay.
but they are already in production. Cabinets are getting made. We are making crossovers. We are making drivers. So we expect these to be on the markets for delivery late August.
Okay.
So it's pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. If you get a chance to experience Audio Group Denmark and any of their products at any shows that you go to, take that opportunity and go listen to them. For me, we've got a pair of X6s in the house at the moment, and I've been DJing through them, and they're incredible loudspeakers. Yeah, the high-end speakers, and we do play a high-end system through them, but to DJ on, they're absolutely brilliant because they're just so accurate but also powerful and really great fun. But if you get the chance to sort of go from that Axxess system and experience that middle section and then the bigger, sort of more expensive system, there is a story there, but the story is very much Borresen Audio Group Denmark, and there is a family sound. Would you say that?
I think what you get in the Axxess, you get more in the C and you get even more in here.
Yeah.
I don't fancy that we should take quality away, but there are some nuances. When we work within a budget, we cannot afford to do that. We take a little resolution away. We cannot afford to do that. We take a little resolution away.
Okay.
But the tonal quality, the dynamic expression remains the same, but the refinement gets higher when you move up and you have the more ability to tinker a little bit more with the stuff.
Okay. Thank you ever so much. It's
You're
been a
welcome.
pleasure as always.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.